What is fantasy football? I'm going to explain that to you in this upcoming video. What is up, everybody? My name is Michael, and welcome into the Fantasy Tap. We are a fantasy football podcast helping you win your fantasy football leagues. We are doing this series for new fantasy football players. Really, is what it comes down to. Maybe you don't know what fantasy football is. Maybe you've heard it, around the office and whatnot, but you don't know much about it. That's what this series is for. This whole playlist is for. So go check out our other videos. We do have a how to create a fantasy football league video up. But today I'm going to be explaining what is fantasy football. Why are people so enamored with it? So basically, to keep it simple, it's when you get your buddies, your coworkers in a league. You can have anywhere from 4 to, even 32 teams. But mostly it's done with 10 to 12 players, 10 to 12 people, friends, family, and you draft a team of NFL players. You have a set roster. Most standard rosters are quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, which can be a wide receiver or running back or tight end, and then a tight end as well. You can also draft kickers and defenses if you'd like. I don't partake in many of those leagues, but that is still an option, and it is seen in most instances. So, but what is fantasy football? You set your draft up, and you have a draft. You go through an entire draft, just like an NFL draft, and you pick your players. You pick your players based on what you think they're going to produce, and it's all points. You're given points every week based off stats that your players put up. So let's say, for instance, you drafted Tom Brady, okay? And he throws for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns and an interception. You're going to get points for those yards he puts up. You're going to get points for the touchdowns, and then you're going to obviously get a negative point or 2 for the interception he threw. So it's all based around stats and what players do. Now, there's many different types of scoring systems, and we're going to make videos on that for somebody who's new and doesn't know how it's done or what it is. So anyways, let's jump into the beginning of a league. So let's say you have 8 to 12 friends, however many you'd like. You're going to set a day to draft. It's going to be typical as a snake draft where the first player in the first round who pick 101, picks in the second round is the last player, and vice versa. The person who picks at let's say, for instance, you have 12 people in your league, picks at the 12th spot, they pick first in the second round, and it goes all the way through there. Now, you do get bench spots as well, so you can hold other players on your roster that aren't actively getting you points every week. Now, once you have your team drafted, once you picked all the players you want on your team, every week you're going to go up against a different opponent, somebody else who has another team set up. So week 1, you're going to be playing Jimmy from The Office, and you're going to be going head-to-head against him. So you're going to set your starting roster of that, like I said, of the quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex option, as well as a tight end, defense and kickers if you do have them as well. And whoever scores the most points, whichever team scores the most points that week, gets the win. And by the end of the season, typically playoffs, your fantasy football playoffs start around week 15. And by that time, you're going to have your standings, and depending on your league settings, if you have 12 people, typically 6 people make it into the playoffs, and they're going to have a playoff until finally we get to week 17, which is the championship. So I know this is a quick and brief video, but I just kind of wanted to explain what it is. And if I didn't answer your question, feel free to drop a question in the comments. Also, please, we'd love for you guys to subscribe. Like I said, we are going to continue this series in breaking down different scoring settings and things like that, how players get points, what they get points for, what the different settings are, and things like that. And then also, there are certain players who do better in certain scoring formats. So we will be breaking that down as well. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, we already have a video out of how to create a fantasy football league. It's really in-depth, so feel free to go check that out. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.